Hello then, a very warm welcome to the programme. Poland's government has appealed for calm after 2 people were killed by a missile that landed near the border with Ukraine. President Andrzej Duda said that the missile was Russian-made, but it wasn't clear who fired it. Some Polish military units have now been placed on heightened alert and aerial surveillance has been increased. Russia has said it did not carry out missile strikes near the Poland-Ukraine border. Howard Johnson reports.
The aftermath of a reported airstrike on a Polish village close to the border with Ukraine that killed 2 people. Poland's President Andrzej Duda has said it's most likely that it was caused by a Russian-made missile, but also said that there was no conclusive evidence yet as to who launched the attack. But Russia's defense ministry has been quick to refute the claims, saying they amount to a deliberate provocation aimed at escalation. At the G20 meeting of world leaders in Bali, Indonesia, US President Joe Biden was asked if he believed the missile had been fired from Russia.
There is preliminary information that contests that. I don't want to say that till we completely investigate. It's unlikely in the minds of the trajectory that it was fired from Russia, but we'll see.
Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who is also at the G20 talks, took to Twitter to say he'd spoken to Poland's president, adding, "I reiterated the UK's solidarity with Poland and expressed condolences for the victims. We will remain in close contact and continue to coordinate with our NATO allies." The blast in Poland came on the same day Ukraine says it faced its heaviest wave of missile strikes from Russia in nearly 9 months of war. There were attacks across the country. Most of Ukraine's major cities were hit, causing widespread electricity outages. What world leaders decide to do next depends on the work of investigators still piecing together the series of events that led to the deadly blast. Howard Johnson, BBC News.
The retired Major John Spencer is the chair of urban warfare studies with the Madison Policy Forum. He's in Colorado Springs in the United States for us. John, there is a part, isn't there, of the North Atlantic Treaty that binds all NATO members to protect a country that has been attacked. Now, bearing in mind that we do not know the full story of this missile attack, in your view, are we at or are we approaching the point at which Article 5 may be triggered?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a significant event. I personally don't think that no matter of the scenarios which we believe, which we'll find out soon, happened, that it was an intentional attack on a NATO member state that would cause, a strike on one is a strike on all, an Article 5 situation, personally. But it's still a significant event, in my opinion, caused by Russia's illegal war in Ukraine. Since it launched, today was one of the biggest days of Russian attacks against civilian infrastructure. Over 90 plus, almost 100 cruise missiles or drones struck Ukraine today.
Is there, with regard to the attack, the missile attack in Poland, is there a sort of a more likely scenario or a central case that's emerging at this stage?
I mean, of course, the online community is aghast with theories. I personally think there's 2 likely scenarios. One of those 100 cruise missiles or other munitions launched by Russia at Ukraine today went off course because there was explosions in Lviv. Russia did strike eastern or western Ukraine. Or 2, it was a Ukrainian intercept missile that went off as well, trying to intercept one of these Russian missiles attacking civilian infrastructure in Ukraine. Either one of those scenarios, in my opinion, is the fault of Russia, who is continuing this illegal war, where the UN had voted that the entire reason they're in Ukraine is against the UN Charter. This has to have a response, no matter what. Of course, the investigation needs to go through. We need to know exactly what happened, and I think we'll know that soon, but there has to be a response.
Now, you have been to Ukraine since this conflict began. You have spoken to many members of the military. Did it surprise you what you found on the ground?
Absolutely, it surprised me the unity of the Ukrainian people to fight. A military or a nation's ability to fight is made up of two things: their means and their will to fight. And when I visited like Kyiv and Bucha and Irpin, places where the world has watched as Russia committed war crimes, validated by international community, and it still has to provide everything Ukraine needs. I was really surprised that, and this is why these missile strikes that Russia continues to do, his missile terrorism, is going to have no effect on the will of the Ukrainian people to continue fighting, and won't have an effect on the alliances that Ukraine has, this group of 50 plus nations, which I hope this event, no matter what is found, actually emboldens the support for Ukraine and they get some of the systems that they haven't gotten so far.
Now, you visited Bucha, the town that in March suffered massacre, executions, torture, rape. There are eyewitness accounts, there's photographic evidence. Should NATO or the UN have intervened directly after Bucha?
No, so unfortunately, the rules in which this conflict has moved forward has been under the rules that have been in place since after World War II, the NATO alliance, NATO member countries. But that shouldn't stop the United Nations and the world from helping Ukraine. Ukraine's never asked for anybody to intervene, as in put boots on the ground. They've asked for, give us all the weapon systems so we ourselves can fight for freedom. In my personal opinion, of course, if Putin would have been allowed to